Best known for her roles as Kelly Quinn on Just Add Magic and Charlotte Rather on Coop and Cami Ask the World, please welcome to the Zoom, Olivia Sanabia. Hello.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, how are you?
I am so good. How are you?
I am wonderful.
I am so excited to be on this episode of Behind the Resume. I told you I watched almost all of them and I love what you do. I love your YouTube channel. And I mean, anybody who's watching just knows that you are so passionate and talented. So I'm
Oh,
happy to
thank you. That
be
that
here.
means so much to me, truly. Well, I guess it's a perfect segue because we start by talking about how we met, and I've been following your career for at least 5 years, which kind of sounds a little stalkery.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I have been aware. I remember when you did Snow White at Lithgow.
Hmm.
I remember being so in awe of that. I was so
Thank you.
inspired. So I'm so excited to hear. I want to hear everything about your entire journey. And the way that we met, we connected on Instagram, right?
Yeah, that's it. Such a modern day meetup.
hmm Yeah, I remember making a list recently of guests that I would love to have, and I was like, oh, I mean, she's a long shot, but maybe.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's so sweet. I'm so happy to be here, Julia.
Yay. Okay. Well, first, where are you from?
LA, California, born and raised, lived here my whole life.
Wow.
I have three siblings.
Are you the youngest?
I'm the second oldest. So I have an older sister and she is 22. So I'm like right in the middle-ish.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How did you start performing?
This is like the cliche answer that I feel like every performer says is like they were singing since they were 2 years
Yeah,
old. True. It's
came out
true.
of the womb. Yeah.
I'm not the womb performing, but it's kind of true. I just started singing and, trying to grab everybody's attention
Yeah.
at family gatherings and stuff when I was really little. And then when I was 6 years old, I auditioned for our school musical, Anastasia, which, I mean, what a good show to
Wow.
start in, right? I
Wait,
know.
wait. How old were you?
I was 6.
You guys were doing Anastasia?
Yeah. Mhm.
We were doing like Vacation on Mars.
I
Oh my
know.
god,
It
that's
was a
incredible.
really good one. Yeah, and I was, like, slightly too young to even audition for it, but I begged and begged to audition for it. In, like, the film version, there's a character called Bartok, which is, like, the little, accomplice of the villain in the movie, and, basically it's like this white flying like rat thingy. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a really fun character and I had to have like this squeaky voice accent thing and I was really little and so I just went for it, no fear whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then I got that fun part and my sister was Anastasia.
Oh my gosh.
So it was my first show ever, and I knew I loved to sing, so I just tried it, and I fell in love. I
Yeah.
fell in love. I really did. I was thinking about this the other day. I had one of those moments, um, where we only had the show for one night, and I
Oh.
just stepped out onto yeah, it was a one show kind of deal.
Oh my gosh.
I know, no pressure, right?
Yeah.
So I stepped out onto the stage and I was like super nervous. And I had that actor catching the bug moment where I was like, wait, I have no fear anymore. And just, I loved every second of it. Like the nerves just melted away. And I knew from that minute I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble. It's-
You knew at
I
six.
did. Totally.
Was it, I mean, a conscious thought of like this is gonna be my life for the forever? Or was it
No.
more of like this is what joy is?
That.
Yeah.
It was I felt so much joy and no fear at all. My moment of, "Oh, I wanna do this for the rest of my life," came later, but
Yes.
the feeling of, "Oh, this is the greatest joy and
Yes.
most fulfilling, activity that I've ever done," came.
Right.
So, looking back, I'm like, "Dang, it really started at a young age that I totally fell in love with it." But my true moment of wanting to be an actress, like in television and film, came when I went to see, do you remember the movie Ramona and Beezus?
Yeah, for sure. Joey
Right.
Jones, Selena Gomez.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great film. And I saw it when, I mean, Joey King was like 8 years old in the film. And so I was about 7 years old when I saw it.
Mhm.
Uh, maybe she was a little older.
How old are
around
you
the
now?
same age. I'm 19 now. So maybe she's no, I think we're a little bit further apart in age. But regardless, she was around my age.
Yeah.
And I went to see that at 7 years old in the theaters. And I just remember having like just stars in my eyes watching her on screen and thinking,
Yeah.
she's so close to my age. I want to do that. And
Mhm.
I feel like I can recount the few moments in my life that have felt so momentous and like they really did lead me to the next place. And that was one of them. I left the theater and I was like, Mom, that's what I want to
It's
do.
incredible knowing that you are now that for other kids.
I mean, I never think about that, but if that's true, then I hope that that's true. That's really cool.
Incredible. Like that's a life changing moment. It is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, in hindsight, I don't know if I knew it was forever. I just knew that that's what I had to do next, as a
I
little 7-year-old person. Yeah.
no, there are those moments. Like first is the moment where it's more subconscious because you're so little of like this is
Yeah.
what joy is. Like
Mhm.
there's no greater feeling in life. And not that we've experienced that much at like 6 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, it's I mean, literally what is more magical than theater? Are you also a musical theater kid
Oh,
first?
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, musical theater all the way. I did a tons of musical theater. I played Annie, which was like the dream. When I was 8 years old, I played Annie. So shortly after my discovery of wanting to be a TV film actress, I played Annie.
Uh,
So I think it continued on. The musical theater love continued on and still does. But the TV and film thing just kind of gripped me.
how did your mom react? Was she like, "Oh gosh."
Pretty much. She at first I did a lot of begging to get my parents to allow me to go out and find an agent.
I
Um,
remember, sorry, I know this is your interview. I'm talking so
no,
much.
please,
I
please tell
remember
me.
I remember one night I was 10 years old and I just remember like sobbing to my parents over how badly I didn't even know what an agent was. It just sounded cool.
No,
I
yeah.
want to have an agent, but I remember sobbing to them over how badly I wanted an agent. So I understand.
Oh yeah, we I think we can connect on our level of passion for this industry.
Yes, for sure.
Basically, yes, I had to do a lot of begging and I begged and begged and begged. And my parents kind of made this deal with me and my older sister, who was also begging to be an actor at the time. And they said, okay, we're going to try it out for a year and we'll see what happens. And if you guys work, which I mean, it's kind of the funniest thing looking back because they set a 1 year,
Yeah.
goal and then we're out in 1 year if nothing happens, which we both know is like such an unrealistic amount
Yeah.
of time. I worked within the 1 year. I got my agent at 7 years old. And then I worked within that first year. I did commercials and I did music videos and print jobs. And so from that point on, we just never looked back. Never even I never stopped since then. So the 1 year thing didn't really work.
How did you find your agent when you were 7?
um my mom had a little bit of knowledge about where to go,
Mhm.
and we just took a couple of meetings with like boutique agencies, and I got signed to my first agent after like two or three other meetings,
Mhm.
and then I was with them for a couple years and they were like a great first agency. But honestly, it's kind of fuzzy on
Yeah.
on how we even
Yeah.
met. It was so long ago, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you were still doing theater
Mhm.
and you were
Yes.
auditioning for TV and film.
Yes.
That's tricky. It's tricky to balance because if you're doing a show, you're blocked out for
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And I lived outside of LA,
Mhm.
so I would drive in hours for every audition, which at the beginning for the first few years, it was like all commercials, all, non-union projects and like not so much TV and film till I got a little bit older, till a couple years in. But still, those commercial auditions,
Mhm.
just there were so many of them, and we would drive hours and hours, and we would drive all the way in, and we drive all the way back, and get home super late at night, and I had to juggle that with, like you said, being in a show, being in Annie or whatever, and yeah, so I think I learned the grind at, at a young age, which It was very nice because my mom was driving me and there was a whole lot more help, and it was not as overwhelming as I think it is looking back. But
Were you going to regular school?
I was for a little while. I was not happy about it though. I went to
Wait,
school
what grade did you start to go, oh, I'm done?
probably like first grade.
Really? For me, it was
Yeah.
eighth.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
eighth grade, I was like, I'm out of here.
I know. I think it progressed, like my need to get out of there and start homeschooling.
Yeah.
So it started in first grade because I was already auditioning. And then second grade, I remember being having to be pulled out of school a ton. Then third grade came around and it was getting a lot. And then fourth, and then fifth was my last year, and things were really picking up. And then I booked my first show and I was like, I'm out. And so sixth through 12th, I homeschooled.
So you booked Just Add Magic in what grade?
Oh gosh, I think sixth grade.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that is so young.
Yeah, it was sixth grade. It was the summer between fifth and sixth.
That's incredible. I
Yeah.
was picking dandelions when I was sixth grade, leading a show. That is, people don't realize the responsibility. And you were 10? No, not 10.
I was 11.
That's like, forget even about the skill of acting. Like the skill you have to have as a human being to have that responsibility. Truly. Like it's
Thank
incredible.
But I mean, I think looking back, I was way more fearless then. I didn't feel any of the pressure. I was just like,
Right.
"Oh, fun. I get to go be a series regular." And it started as a pilot. So I was like, "Oh, 1 week of work," which
Yeah.
was a big deal to me at the time. I remember at the end of the week, I was like, "Whoa, I think I'm the hardest working person on planet Earth." That was at the end of 1 week of work. And then, years went by and I look back on that and kind of laugh. Yeah, I didn't feel the pressure of it. I didn't realize how big of a deal it was, which is good
Isn't that
because
amazing?
it would have been it would have
Yeah.
been too overwhelming.
So what did your parents think when now their 11-year-old is like a TV star?
I mean, they were super proud. I don't think it was as scary as like, hey, you have to go off and film for 8 months. It was just the pilot at first. So I think it was the pilot, and then I worked on a couple other things, and then we got picked up. So it was very gradual. So that was good. It wasn't too scary. It wasn't like you need to pack your bags and leave for 8 months right now. It
Yeah.
was, let's film the pilot. We loved everybody. It gets picked up, and then you go and film for a long time. So everything's been super gradual. And even before I booked Just That Magic, I was doing co-stars and guest stars and things that would film for a day or 2 days. So we were used to having to, drive in a ton and go for, so many auditions a week and um make sacrifices.
Yeah.
My parents were thrilled for me because they knew that my heart was to, be an actress. I don't think they were really scared. So I
Yeah.
guess we were all kind of naive.
Rejection, did they even process or no? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The rejection hit around the time of booking Just That Magic. So like probably from 10 on. I
Mm,
don't think I was really fully facing like direct no you didn't book this before that, because it's like commercials and stuff and you book a commercial here and there, and I don't think it felt like the same rejection. But from 10 years old on, I would get so attached to projects,
yeah.
possibly unhealthy attachments.
Oh, I know. I think that is when it gets really hard to be in regular school with kids who don't have that like
Understanding.
yeah, I remember when I was in eighth grade and I auditioned for a musical at the professional theater, which I did book, and that was my first professional musical.
Wow.
Like, change. Well, I auditioned for so many shows with them prior, but that show really did change the trajectory. I remember sitting in eighth grade English class having a full blown mental breakdown over, like, I've never experienced this before,
Mhm,
over
mhm.
how badly I was in the children's ensemble, and that show changed my life. And I
Yeah.
remember being in the car, my mom was like, "Are you okay? Like that's not
You might love this a little too much.
right."
Yeah.
But you don't know how to channel, because like that passion and that want is insane. Like it is so intense when you want something and you're so close.
Mhm. It really is.
You felt that at 10.
Oh, yeah. I lost a a really big job that I had wanted. It was like my perfect project.
Yep,
You know, how some
yep,
roles are just like, this is made for me. You
yes,
know, it was
yes.
one of those. And I was this close to booking it. I was like prepared to go get fitted for contacts the day of. And then, that was my first big memory of major rejection. And then I got the call and they were like, "Yeah, you're released from this." And it was just another kind of monumental moment of, "Oh gosh, so this is what it's going to be like. This is how bad it's going to hurt every time I really want a project to go get it." I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like the rejection, the feeling of it worsens as you get older. That's been my experience. But yeah, as I've gotten older, I think somehow the rejection is harder. But I guess what I mean when I say it got harder, I think it became more often. Like I think I began to work more and audition for things that I loved more, so that it was more often. But I mean, now I have the tools. I don't get as attached to anything, but I think the amount of regular rejection makes it harder. I think if it's just like one big thing a long time ago and then you get over it, and then 5 months later it's one big rejection and then you get over it. I think when it's more regular and it's like no to this, no to this, no to this, I think that's what makes it harder in a way. I
Are you
don't
a
know.
big manifester?
In some ways, I do like to write things out. I love vision boards. So does that count?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right, then it counts. I
Yeah.
love vision boards. I love writing out my goals. And honestly, sometimes I think it's just mental. I have like a list in my head of all the dreams that
Yeah,
I want to accomplish. So I think that
yeah,
counts.
for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
I was just gonna say because I'm a huge manifester and I'm always looking for the signs, which
Mm.
sometimes really ends up not being great because I'm like, oh, this is gonna work out because I saw this on the highway and this is a sign and this is a sign, and then I just like drive myself insane.
Oh my gosh, I completely relate to that. It made me think of when I was talking about my years of public school. I would see like the character's name
Yep.
written on the whiteboard and be like, "Oh, that means I'm gonna get it." And I would think about it for hours.
It is insane when in the moment you're like, I A plus B does not equal C. Like, where did I go wrong? This does not add up. And then
Mm.
when the thing happens that's supposed to happen, you're able to look back and go, thank you, universe, because this was meant to happen and I couldn't have fathomed in the moment.
It's so true. There are so many projects that I look back on and think, "Oh, that was protection, not rejection," you know?
I
And
love
then there's some
that.
that I look back, yeah, and then there are some that I look back on and think, "Oh, I still wish I got that."
Me all the time.
Yeah.
So the Just That Magic audition, do you remember like the process of that?
I totally do. Um, it was remotely easy.
Hmm.
I had my first audition and I knew the casting directors a little bit. I had been in for them for other shows. And so I went in and did in the age of real in-person audition. Just read. That was it. It was so easy. And then I think I got a call back, did the call back,
Hmm.
and then I heard it was over 4th of July, and so I was going on a vacation. I heard that I was going to be going to the mix and match as soon as I got back. The beginning of Just That Magic, the first episode, basketball was a storyline, which evaporated quickly within the series. But basketball was a thing, and so on the trip, my grandparents were there, and my grandfather, he was like, "I'm going to teach you how to play basketball," and I don't know why that's a memory that I have,
Oh,
but
I love that.
yeah. So then I got back into LA and I did the mix and match, and it was my first mix and match experience ever,
Mhm.
which I guess if you don't know, anybody that's watching, it's basically where they bring in several options for each role and they switch you guys out and pair different people together. We were all sitting in this giant room around a table. There were, I think, 3 options for each character. They kept swapping us out. And I remember I saw several people that I knew, several actresses that I loved and had remembered what they had done. And so I was super confident because I was 11 years old. Me and the 2 other girls who ended up booking the show, Abby and Aubrey, we went in together at the very end and we just knew it felt really good. But, that happens all the time where you're like, well, this feels amazing and nothing comes of it. And so I finished up and then I was driving home and I'm pulling into my driveway and I got the call.
Oh, I have chills.
Oh.
You had said earlier that you had gone for the cast directors multiple times. And I think that is so important for people to remember because every time you audition and you don't hear back, you are just putting in the work with the casting directors or for whatever reason you get the part, but then they're going to want you for the role that you're going to book. And honestly,
Oh.
it's a reminder for me too. Like I needed to hear that. Because I always am talking to friends about something they've booked. They're like, yeah, I've been auditioning for these casting directors for years. And it's like,
It's
most
so
people
true.
don't know that, you know?
Yeah, I think because we are so as actors, we are so focused and zoned in on the thing that we are currently auditioning or auditioning for, working on, whatever, that it's hard to remember that it's nothing's wasted. Like those
Yeah.
auditions that you weren't right for, they're not wasted. But it takes, I mean, we both know like it takes so much time to be able to look back and see that and see that it wasn't wasted and see that all the auditions that led up to that point were worth it and
Right.
helped you.
I've
So
also found that sometimes I'll work so hard on a character, like with my coach, and then, not get the part, but then I'm doing another self tape and I'm pulling from that character.
totally.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I feel like people almost put training, like acting training and going on auditions that you're not right for in the same box. Like it's not as valuable as just going in for things that you're specifically right for, but it all adds up. It all turns you into the actor that you're going to become. And it's all so important in building your story, in building your grit as an actor, because we both know like if you don't love your craft, it's really hard to keep going in this industry.
Absolutely. When you got the audition, did you know it was something special? Like, did you have that feeling?
I I did. I don't remember having a feeling of like, oh, this is my project, but I remember loving it because it was based off of a book. And so I started to read the book and I thought, oh, this is such a fun premise. It's three best friends who are they are cooking and there's magic involved and it was super
Yeah.
wholesome and it didn't have some of the qualities that I didn't like in children's TV. It was very cinematic and well shot. We didn't talk down to the parents
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was smart and it made the whole family feel like they were a part of something. It was something the whole family could watch and nobody has to leave the room or nobody has to feel uncomfortable or it also wasn't too boring for the adults to enjoy. So I knew it was special from what I read, but you have to be so much like in one ear out the other, just
Right.
keep plugging along. But then when we filmed the pilot, I knew it was really special.
What was it like getting that call? Because that was the first call of a role this big, right?
Yeah, it was so crazy. I remember like, oh, I have to go journal right now. So I walked away and I still have the note in my phone of what I sat down and journaled.
Oh, I love
And yeah, I don't even remember what I wrote, but it was a really special phone call. I think I didn't realize how much it would change my life
that.
until later on because that show is such a big part of my life and still continues to be a part of my life. So I think I was young and kind of naive to the fact that it was such a big deal, but I still was dying inside. I still was excited, not even knowing the full extent of what it would mean to my life.
Was there any point up until then where you even considered like throwing in the towel a little bit, or you were going?
Not really. It's a discouraging business for sure, but I was still so young that I don't think I was facing all of that yet. I really didn't think about it. I really never thought about it at
Yeah,
that point. So, I mean,
great.
I knew things were hard, but I knew it was worth it.
You wanted to be homeschooled anyway, and then this is
Yeah,
yeah,
it really was. And I knew I couldn't be working and be going to school
yeah,
at the same time because it had become weird. I'd have to be pulled out of school and
mm,
people would notice. And I was a good student, so it
yeah.
was never a bad thing on that end, but I had just always wanted to be homeschooled even without the acting element. I just
I feel just so like misunderstood at school.
oh yeah, totally. Totally. A fish out of water a little bit. Like I could hang, I could have friends and that kind of stuff, but I always just felt like I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be
Yeah,
independent. I wanted to learn at my own pace. I was kind of one of those kids that was like, I don't want to wait around for the kids that are goofing off,
Yeah.
and I want to get my work done, and I want to go home, and I want to go to auditions,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could see what I wanted from that age, and then I homeschooled and I knew it was the right choice.
I told someone recently that leaving traditional school for me was one of the greatest things I've ever done for myself in my life.
Same.
Yeah.
So you said you left in ninth grade?
My mom said, go to high school for a semester, just so you can experience it.
Uh-huh. Say you've done it.
Right. Just so you can experience it. It's like, fine. 3 weeks go by. I come home and I said, I'm not going back tomorrow. And so,
Wow, that's so
yeah,
cool.
it was funny. I remember that day. Everything was great. I was like in the theater department. I was meeting all these new friends. I had so many like older theater friends going to the school. And so everything was great. Like nothing was bad from the outside. I was also doing a show at the time. I was doing Bring It On. Do you know Bring It On?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Such
That
a
is
show.
so
Such
fun.
a show. But we were rehearsing like 4 hours every night, and I just was like, I'm done. I've been done for a year. I think the next day we went and did like a meeting at the online hybrid school that I ended up going to for all 4 years of high school.
You never looked back from that point on?
Oh my god, the metaphorical wings in my back expanded.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. If you feel that pulsing urge to go and you're lucky enough to have parents who allow you,
Yeah.
it was such a great move.
And the reality is you could always go back. If it doesn't work out,
Absolutely.
traditional school is always there. I think a lot of people in a lot of different scenarios, not just this, you just feel so like life or death if you make some decision. But oh my god, I'd so much rather try than not and fail or it doesn't work out than not try at all.
Absolutely. And that's also such a great mentality to have for this business too,
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
feels all feels so life and death.
yeah,
And it's not.
yeah.
But, so that's awesome that you were able to just see beyond that. That's really cool.
Okay, back to you, because I could talk all day long.
I want to hear it. After this, I want to hear your story.
um, okay, so you booked the show when you're 11, which I still cannot get over. And how did your siblings react to that?
I had a friend who was in the business a little bit before me,
Mhm.
and we always had this thing where we were rooting for her, as my entire family, we were rooting for her to book a pilot. And so I didn't really truly understand what that meant. Once they heard that their own sister had booked a pilot, I think everybody was so excited but had no idea what was,
Right.
before us.
Yeah.
So they were thrilled too. It was just uncharted territory
Mhm.
because, one day of work on a commercial, you come home and then your life resumes
Yeah.
the exact same way. But this was a little different. And none of us really knew it was coming because nobody in my family's ever been on a TV show,
Yeah.
for that long. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Were you doing acting classes up until that point? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I did the workshops, I did the acting classes, I did, the improv and all the stuff. When I was 10 years old, I started working with a coach and she made me fall in love with
Oh, I
like
love that.
craft. I would get so excited to go to acting class and it would kind of refuel me for the entire week ahead. I loved it so much. I fell in love with, I think there's a difference between wanting to perform and then falling in love with the craft of acting and
Yeah.
doing all the hard stuff like research
Mhm.
and answering all the little tiny questions that you have to form your character and I fell in love with it through my teacher, and then I just was always training. I had another coach. Once Just Add Magic happened, I couldn't really audition all that much,
Yeah.
but when I did, I got so excited because, you're in one character for so long. It's so fun to jump out of them, even just for an audition, and dive headfirst. I would do hours upon hours of research for fun but also to like do a good job
Yeah.
and walk in the room and fully commit to it. I had one acting teacher who really taught me how to commit and how to fully dive in, and her acting classes always felt like a form of therapy to me.
Mm.
It was a release
Yeah.
every week, and a lot of people think that acting is like this build up to try and get yourself to a place where you're ready to act, but this always felt like, whew, I'm just gonna get all my feelings out and I'm gonna put it in the scene. And it really felt like that. It was therapeutic, it was cathartic, it was why I fell in love with acting, and it gave me the ability to keep going, because if you don't really love it, you can only last so long on the fumes of wanting to be a performer and wanting people to look at you and, kind of going like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
It has to be deeper than that. Training is everything, because to me, that's where I found that deep love for it.
I think this passion that you're talking about can't be taught.
No,
It's something that you have in your bones.
I know exactly what you mean. That's why when people ask me, I've had a couple people come up to me and ask, "Should I be an actor?" I have no idea how to answer that question, because, like you said, you just almost are born with the passion, with the drive, with the extreme determination to keep going. This business is not for the faint of heart, and it's not for those who would rather or could do something else. I always tell people, if I could do something else, I would, because this business is so hard, but I can't live without acting.
Yeah,
So,
I love that so much. So that whole experience that lasted for 3 years, 3 seasons?
3 seasons, but we had 2A and 2B. I don't even remember. I think it was 13 episodes and 13 episodes. It was one season divided into two. So I think we did about 3 seasons in total. So yeah.
Oh, so you went from age 11 to like 13, 14?
Yeah, I started the pilot when I was 13, and yeah, ended when I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a huge growing up.
formative years.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You
Yeah.
spent those years like on a TV show.
I
Mhm.
was pretty confident for the most part, but definitely had experiences with like body image, and it's such an interesting experience to be going through those formative years when you're naturally going to have issues with body image and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, but also having it amplified and constantly right, for the world to see, being in clothes that are not of your choosing,
Yes.
and having to do things that are not necessarily something that you would put out to the world if you were choosing what to do as a 11 to 14-year old. The way that I kind of took a little bit of control back is I started saying no to a lot of clothing in
Mhm.
fitting. I started saying, no, I'm not comfortable in that. I started saying, actually, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna wear that,
Mhm.
because they want to work with you. Nobody wants you to be uncomfortable, because like you
Right.
said,
And you can't do
it's
your job.
hard, it's hard to act.
Mhm.
So there's this balance of, well, I booked this job and I'm playing a character, but I also need to, maintain my like dignity as a human, and
Yeah.
feel comfortable and feel like I can be the best version of myself as an actor. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and that's incredible that at that young age you were able to stand up for yourself in that way.
Later. It came later. I don't want to sound like I was, 11 years old being like, no, I won't
Yeah,
wear that. It
yeah.
wasn't that. It came later,
Yeah.
but it stemmed from insecurity.
You're 14 and the
Mhm,
show ends.
mhm.
Was that just the biggest like what do I do now moment?
It was wild. I didn't even have a second to think of, oh gosh, what comes next? The only moment that I had with that was, oh gosh, I'm not going to be with these people that I love so much anymore.
Yeah.
It wasn't as much like, do I go back to regular school? It was never that. It was, I love these people so much and I can't fathom life without them. Like, we
Yeah.
filmed for a really long time. We filmed for sometimes 8 months out of the year,
Oh my god.
which, yeah. And so it was your family, it was your life, it was I was very close with the cast. Luckily, I went into something else right after, which was like a magical thing, because it took my brain right away from that. I was excited about the future, so that also helped me kind of move on. Coop and Cami Ask the World happened right after.
No way.
It was a wild
That is
experience.
when did you book that? Like how much longer did you have of Just Add Magic?
There was an overlap. They did a spin-off of Just Add Magic called Just Add Magic Mystery City, and I was in a couple episodes of it. So we had finished our Just Add Magic, and then they started the spin-off of Just Add Magic right after. And so I was on a couple episodes of that. So I was filming that, and I had been auditioning for Coop and Cami for like a little bit, months when we were still filming Our Just Dad Magic before the spinoff started. So I had auditioned for it, and then during the spinoff, I booked it. And it
That's
was wild. I was on set for the spinoff when I got the call. I literally had just my mom text me, come out of the hair and makeup trailer. And so I ran into the car and got the call. And then they were pulling me to go work. And I had been crying because I was so excited. So I was crying, and people from the cast were walking by and looking at me like, are you okay, in the car? And I knew I couldn't say anything.
yeah.
I had been told not to say anything. So I was like, yeah, I just had a bad day. And in reality, it was something that I had been so excited about. So I found out, and then we filmed the pilot about a week later, and we filmed the pilot on the same lot that I had filmed Just Time Magic the entire time. So I have this picture. It was the most wild thing. My parking spot for Just Add Magic was about 5 spaces over from my new parking spot for Coop and Cami.
Oh my god, I have chills.
It was really crazy. And I hadn't told the crew, like my friends on Just Have Magic, I hadn't told anybody. And I remember our director and executive producer, Joe Nussbaum, he walked out of the set, he walked out of the stage, and he looks at me because I was taking a picture by the parking spot. And he's like, huh? He's like, what is that? And I was like,
Oh
you
my
know, and so it was really crazy because I think I may have, yeah, I walked around the stage for Coop and Cami on like my lunch break or something. It was crazy. It was really crazy. But that definitely helped my sadness about Just Add Magic being over because I was kind of launched into something new.
Was Disney the dream growing up?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up like everybody else on High School Musical and all the original movies and thought it would be so cool. And then Just That Magic happened, and I was certain that I was too old. I was 14 and I thought, oh no, it'll never happen. I would have had to have been much younger. And then this part came around, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, I get my chance. I don't know if I had worked for them before. I had worked for Nickelodeon lots, but I don't know if I'd ever worked for Disney before, but I knew them well over there because we auditioned tons for them and stuff. But yeah, so when that happened, it was pretty cool. And then all the things that you envision it will be like to be on a Disney Channel happen, like the wand ID and all that stuff, and then
Oh, that is
it's
the coolest.
mind-boggling.
That is like truly, that is the coolest thing ever. Like,
Thank
I have
you.
so many questions. What was the audition process like for Coop and Cami? Do you remember?
I do. I do. I had auditioned for it. And just my first call, I walked into the room and I saw a lot of people with red hair. Like, I think everybody in there was a redhead. And so I thought, oh my gosh, that's what they're going to do. But that doesn't work for me, but I'll go in and have fun anyway.
I'll
And
dye my hair red, yeah.
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to have a family with everybody having red hair. How fun. So I went in, just did my thing, and was like, okay, all right, I'm going to write that off because I assumed that it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so then I didn't hear anything for a full month. And I one day got a call back,
Hmm.
and I thought, oh, okay. I forgot about this project, but sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then I went in for the callback, and then I went in and did like a mix and match of sorts. And the other kids on the show, two of them had already been cast. Ruby Rose and Dakota Lotus, they had already been cast. And so I met with them, and there were a bunch of other people there for the mom, for the character Ollie. And so they were just kind of mix and matching a bunch of different people. And I went in, and it was kind of one of those things where I felt good about it, but I didn't really know what was going to happen. Then I didn't hear anything for like a week or something. And then I went in to test for it. It's such an easy testing experience. I just went in, did my thing. I think I found out like 3 days later.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so incredible. So then you
Thanks.
just dove into that and you were on another series. Was that 3 seasons as well?
We did 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It just kind of went right into that, which was such a blessing and a really cool thing to do. It was
Looking back at that 6-year-old who fell in love with performing, what do you think she would say to you now?
oh gosh. Ooh, that's a really good question. I think she would be proud of my work ethic because that's something that has been constant, and something that I'm proud of because in this industry you can't control much, but work ethic is always something that you can bring to the
Yeah.
table. 6-year-old me would be happy, I hope. I hope.
I,
Uh,
I hope she would too.
I hope so too. She had high expectations. I hope I've met them. I think she'd be more than anything happy to see that I'm still doing it and plan to keep on doing it forever. I think I finished the show when I was 17. We were mid-season and then COVID happened.
Oh,
Mhm. Yeah, crazy, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So then did you resume kind of once things
No. We had filmed already. We had filmed 50 something episodes. So we had large seasons. One of our seasons was about 30 episodes. So we had done a lot, but we hadn't finished up our season. We had a few more episodes to go. So it's kind of that thing of who knows what was going to happen at the end of the show because we weren't able to see it because of COVID. And
Oh
then
my
everybody
gosh.
kind of grew up. I know.
So COVID happened in the show that had to end.
Yeah.
Oh
Isn't
my,
that crazy?
yeah. Like, was there a conclusion or?
I think we left it on like a happy note.
Mhm.
There was no like, this is the final episode, but I think we did leave it on a good note. We left it on, I believe, an engagement. Charlotte's mom got engaged and that was a happy thing.
Yeah.
And so I think we had filmed that and I think they decided that would be a good last episode. But no, there had never been any official this is it. Like we didn't even know that we were going to not see each other. I know, we just were going on hiatus. We were supposed to have our regular hiatus, and then it got extended, and then that turned into COVID. So we just were like, "Bye, see you in a week."
Yeah, right? See you.
Yeah, see you in a week. Yeah.
From your experience, like what advice would you give to a kid who like wants to be on Disney Channel, or what would you, yeah, what advice would you give?
First of all, make sure that you love this because the only thing that can sustain you in this business is love for the craft and something to ground you, whether that's your family, whether that's your faith, whatever it is, you must have something that's bigger than the business, you
Hmm.
know? So you simultaneously have to love it with your entire heart and being, but you also need to have something that's real and tangible and not going to go away.
Hmm.
So to ground you. Once you figure that out, once you're good to go with that, I'd say training is so important, knowing your stuff, being prepared, knowing what it's like to be a professional, because we are living in an adult world. Like
Yeah.
when you're younger, you're expected to be an adult when you're on set, even if you are young. Knowing how to memorize your lines, knowing how to break down a character, and being confident about your skills as an actor. I think the best, most important thing is preparedness, train and train and train, and then just take every opportunity that's given to you. Audition for everything, even if you don't think you're right for it.
Hmm.
Ask for things. A lot of what I've found in recent years is some great things have come from when I've asked for things
Yes.
specifically, when I've been bold
Yep.
and strong and insistent on and persistent on what I want. Sometimes you just need to ask for stuff. You
Yep.
need to chase it. You
Yep.
need to put yourself out there. So this business is the perfect combination of hard work, talent, opportunity, luck.
Hmm.
It's this wild storm of so many factors and grit. The ability to go on is super important. So it's if you are thinking about becoming an actor, think about all those things first. Can you see yourself doing something other than acting? Go do that. You know what I mean?
If you don't ask, the answer will always be no.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you miss 100% of the chances that you don't take. I heard this really awesome quote. Kerry Washington said this quote. She was quoting Julia Cameron from The Artist's Way.
Did you do that? Did you do the artist way?
I haven't done its entirety, but I've started it.
Okay, I did it this.
You like it?
It's truly transformative.
Oh, okay,
Julia
then I
Cameron's
am.
a genius. It's incredible. Yeah.
So maybe you remember this quote. It's you have to, you can pray to catch the bus, but you can't just pray to catch the bus and then stroll on over. You have to run and simultaneously pray to catch the bus.
Mm,
So the bus being the opportunity, the job, whatever, you can't just wish for it and dream about it. You got to back it up with something else too. We're talking more about like serious like career acting right here, but also musical theater, we both love it.
yeah.
So that's a wonderful thing too.
Who do you look up to now? Like, who are your inspirations in just acting and just in life?
In acting, I really love Haley Seinfeld. I've
Oh my
loved her
god.
career, right?
We went to the online hybrid school
You're
that
kidding.
I graduated high school in 2020, and so our graduation was just like this video, and we turned the video on, and she comes on the screen and she's like, "Hey, class of 2020."
No.
I was like, "What is she doing in our graduation video?" She is so cool. She is so cool.
She filmed Bumblebee next to us when we were filming Just Add Magic. They were filming it at the same time. It was wild because we got to see her like walking to lunch and we'd
Oh,
all cry
yeah.
because I love her and I'm such a huge fan. I also love Lily James's career. I think she's made really awesome decisions. Emma Stone, come on. I've loved her since Easy A, which I did not see when I was young, but I have seen since.
Yeah.
Um, I think she's so funny and I love the projects that she's chosen to work on and I love Jennifer Lawrence too. I am kind of hooked on videos like these where you get to watch and just learn about people's careers and what led them to where they are. So I love that you are doing this for, you know, for people that are not Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone, where there are just, a crazy amount of videos out there talking about their career. We don't get to see as many of these in-depth videos for people that are, like more at the beginning of their career or more young. So it's really cool that you are doing this and
Thank
it's
you.
awesome. Like I wish I had these videos when I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? So it's awesome.
Oh, thank you. When did Snow White happen? Was that after Coop and Cami?
It was actually mid Coop and Cami. So we had filmed our really, really long season. We had already filmed 20 something episodes by October.
Mhm.
So we ended like Halloween. I started up Snow White with the Lilith Goes at their for their panto. We started rehearsals mid-November. So it was a crazy year. So I took like 2 weeks off and then we started rehearsals and I flew to North Carolina and we did a run of the show there, which was so fun in Raleigh, North Carolina. And we rehearsed there and we put on the show there, which was so fun to get to go do the same show for a different audience, all the way across the country. It was really, really fun. And then we flew back and we did the show at the Pasadena Civic Center for all the way up until Christmas. It was such a fun experience. And it was their a Snow White Christmas. So they take, fairy tales and turn them into Christmas stories and they're pantos. So people get to interact with us. So I'd never experienced that form of musical theater. So it was so fun. And it was the first time I had done theater in a really long time. So it was a magical experience. I look back on it with such fondness.
So what are the dreams now? Like what are the goals?
So many things. The musical theater part of me wants to be on Broadway one day. That's a major. Do you feel me on that?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's an
That's
obvious.
the ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah, I love TV and film so much. I want to keep pursuing film, which I'm so excited I'm working on like my first film pretty soon. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So I'm excited to keep pursuing that world. But honestly, I just want to act. I just want to keep acting, but I do have certain roles that I want to play and that are dream roles, and um mainly film has my heart.
And you also sing
Yeah.
songs out, right? You have original songs out.
Yeah. Mhm.
Have you slept? I feel like over the past since you were 11, you've just been working non-stop. That's incredible.
My character Charlotte on Coop and Cami, she played an instrument and sang. So
Oh,
that was cool to get a
yeah.
little glimpse of that, but to fully immerse myself in both at the same time, I'm hoping is around the corner. I don't know if you find this, but songwriting is so much more vulnerable than acting. Do you feel the
Oh,
same way?
songwriting is saying, here is my journal, read it. What art form is more vulnerable than songwriting?
100%. Spelling out how you feel
Right.
about anything and putting it out to the world, it was scary. I don't get nervous about I didn't think I was gonna be nervous about that kind of stuff until I released my first single, and I was like, "Wait, these are my words. This is
Yes.
my vision. This is
Yes.
entirely me and my heart." I was not expecting to feel it was so vulnerable because when I'm songwriting and I'm just sitting at my piano, I'm not scared of being vulnerable because there's nobody around and I'm the only person listening and it doesn't have to go anywhere. You know what I mean? But then when you finally decide to put it out to the world, it's a little scary. When I went to release my second single called The Train, I was a little scared because it is so honest and so much of, like you said, a journal entry.
Mhm.
So that one hit me and I was slightly scared, but it is so worth it if people connect to it because I know how much I live and thrive off of the words of other
Yep.
songwriters that I admire.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have to be willing to give that back, you know?
Right.
The risk of being vulnerable is worth the reward of even one person connecting to it and being able to feel affected by your song.
That
Hope.
is so beautiful, and I think that goes for every art form. Like for whatever it is you do, whether it's like dancing or painting or acting or singing, what like. And it's funny that you say that because I've been thinking about that and talking about that with so many like mentors and friends recently about how uncomfortable it is to show up as our authentic selves to an audition, to writing a song, to anything, to posting a YouTube video, to just showing up, right? Like it's actually so uncomfortable. But what I'm
Mhm.
finding, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is like that is the comfort though in knowing that you are showing up.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It is such an interesting thing because I feel like now more than ever we are encouraged to be authentic and encouraged to be honest. But everybody is so different
Mhm.
in that like I said, I'm such a private person that for me to, be real with people and not in like the alternative is being fake, but to share my feelings about things, like whether in whatever form that takes. I don't know. There's such this like juxtaposition of loving it and loving to be a part of the vulnerability conversation, but also being scared out of your mind that you'll be judged or that you'll be nobody will relate to you and be like, no, you're the only person that feels that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I am grateful for conversations like these where it takes me out of my comfort zone a little bit to talk about things that I don't really talk online about. So it's really, really cool to have this conversation.
Yeah, I said this in my acting class last night, but I think about all the time, like I write lists of people that I want to be friends with, people that I want to know, people that I want to consider colleagues. And I just look at, from my perspective of not knowing them personally, but from what I can see on social media, of ways in which they leaped into the dark, whether it was releasing a song or showing up in this way or working with an organization or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and be like, wow, I would love to collaborate with them, be friends with them, be in the same rooms as them, but I'm just going to sit here and be comfortable and then not push myself. Like, if I want to be in those rooms, I then have to show up in ways that they showed up. Yet,
That is so
social
interesting.
media does not, like, we cannot feel their discomfort through social, we just see their wins. So
Mhm.
it's such an illusion of like, wait, I'm so uncomfortable, and this person it comes so easy to, but like, it doesn't come easy to anyone.
Mhm. Wow, that's such an interesting point, Julia. I love the way you put that because on social media, I feel the exact same way. Our brains do this thing of they must have not been scared for
Yep,
that callback.
yep,
Oh, they
yep,
must not be having a bad day because they look happy. Oh, they must not feel the same things I do.
yep,
I really love what you said about showing up in the same way. Like if you want to be a part of that conversation, show up, start talking in that
right.
conversation. That's really interesting.
Cool.
I'm gonna be thinking about that one for a while, Julia. That's awesome.
Oh,
You're supposed to envision who you want to be and then start showing up as them.
mhm,
What would they wear? How would they talk?
yeah,
What would they do?
yeah,
What does their day look like? So that's when you said that, it reminded me of that. It's like I want to be that person. Then you kind of got to start showing up as that person
right.
right now because you're not going to wake up one morning and be that person who made the bold decision. You have to make it now.
I love your series positivity. I think that is so
Oh,
wonderful. How did that come about? And I'm sure that even that, I mean, maybe it wasn't. Was that an
no.
uncomfortable thing to do?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, it was during the heart of COVID. So it was born out of me needing an outlet, me needing to and wanting to talk with the people that follow me and wanting to bring a little bit of light and maybe something to look forward to. Not that I feel like anybody was looking forward to it, but I knew that
No,
when
I'm
I was
sure. I'm sure
getting
people were. Yeah,
Thank you. But I knew that I was getting when I would get morsels of content from people that I liked and
yeah.
admired, it would be something really good to look forward to in quarantine. So I knew I just needed some good news because we were just hearing all the bad news. So I decided to just make a quick little series where I was drinking tea and talking about some good things that happened that week. I think we still need it. We still need to hear that
Yeah.
there as much horrible things are currently circulating on the news, in our brains, in social media. There still remains good parts of life and of humanity. So that's kind of where it came from, but yeah, it was vulnerable. I did an episode where I was like, "I don't think I've ever said this before online, but, like, I'm having a bad day, and this is not fun. Quarantine life is not easy," and I just, hoped that it would eliminate some of the way that I feel about people that I follow, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
no, I'm sure they're not having a hard time. I'm sure they're living their best life and aren't really sad or experiencing any of the emotions that I was going through, and I never wanna be a place where people think that about me because it couldn't be
Yeah.
further from the truth. It was just an outlet. I was like, "I need to help myself and maybe help some other people."
Mhm. Absolutely. This question makes me laugh because it's so heavy, but what do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh, I wanna leave a legacy of kindness,
Mhm.
goodness towards people. I wanna do great work.
Mhm.
The goal has always for me, like, the reason I've been an actor, aside from just loving it, is to affect people,
Mhm.
because I was one of those people that would go to the movie theater and walk out and just be overwhelmed with how amazed I was and not even have words to express why I loved it or what I loved so much about it, but I think the gratification of affecting people and touching somebody's heart and hitting a sore spot in a
Yeah.
way that like healing, those are the two things that are important to me. I want to be good to people and I want to do great work.
To tie in and end off what we were just saying, if anyone is watching this who dreams of becoming an actor, it is so possible.
Totally.
So real. It's so like you've held the, I don't know, like do you actually hold a wand when you do the
Yeah, you do.
physically held the wand? Like
Yeah,
it's so tangible, it's so real. If you can relate to what we've been talking about the passion, and there's nothing else that you even could dream of doing, then like
do it.
do it.
Yeah, it's so true. Dreaming big is so important. If you can dream it, you can do it. It's so true. Love
Oh
it.
my gosh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. This was such a fun conversation.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
That I'm